spike in bankruptcies are expected when the eviction ban and the foreclosure ban come to an end. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an article for you today, and I said it before and I'll say it again. Landlords are going bankrupt due to the eviction moratoriums out there. But before I get into this article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below, and I'll work to keep bringing you great articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article, it comes to us from abc3340.com, and it says, more bankruptcy filings expected as eviction and foreclosure ban nears end. Birmingham, Alabama. More bankruptcy filings are expected as the COVID eviction and foreclosure halt nears an end later this month. As many continue struggling before that date comes at the end of the month, an expert explains the options available. A higher percentage of homeowners are behind on their mortgage right now than at any time since the Great Depression, said Brad Boats, an attorney at Bond and Boats Law Offices. Yeah, so here's some interesting information for you, okay? Basically, they put a ban on foreclosures for people who were, for people who own properties where the tenants were unable to pay the rent due to the coronavirus pandemic. And they also allowed landlords to take forbearance. And so there were options where the landlords didn't have to pay the entire mortgage. Now, there were other expenses the landlords did have to pay, but there were options where a lot of landlords were able to get away with not paying as much as they had before. And sometimes that was able to keep the landlord from losing their properties during all of this eviction moratorium nonsense, okay? But when all of this ends, and it's set to end pretty soon, then all of a sudden a lot of landlords might find themselves facing foreclosure. They might have to sell their properties. They might, just get their credit completely ruined. We don't know what's going to happen just yet. And that's exactly what this article is going over. Now, they're talking mostly about homeowners here, but who owns more homes than landlords, okay? So we're the ones who are going to be very affected by it. A high percentage of people could be in a bind at the end of this month. First thing I'll tell you is that bankruptcy should not be your first option, and a good bankruptcy attorney will tell you that, said Boats. I agree with that. It shouldn't be your first option. Sell the property if you can. There are organizations in the community who can help, but you have to reach out, just like you should reach out to who you owe before getting an attorney. Do that before the end of this moratorium, which is at the end of July. If you find yourself in a position where you haven't been able to work out a deal, then a Chapter 13 may be a good option, Boats said. Yeah, I don't believe in going into bankruptcy unless you absolutely have to. Don't let that property go into foreclosure unless it absolutely has to, okay? Work out a deal where you can sell the property if you absolutely need to, okay? Even if you have to sell it at just where you don't make any money, or if you sell it at a loss even, okay, or short sell it, it can destroy your credit for such a long time that you might not be able to recover. And I don't want to see that happen to any landlords out there, so get yourself in a better position. Like, even if the tenant, you can't evict the tenant yet, sometimes there are people out there, landlords, who will buy a property with a tenant in it, even one who isn't paying. Now, they're going to get a big discount, but at least you'll be able to get out from under it, and put someone else who has a bigger reserves might be able to handle the situation a little bit better than you could. But yeah, I don't believe you should be pushing towards bankruptcy unless you absolutely have to. And even the fact that we're talking about it is ridiculous to me. But the whole eviction moratorium thing, that's the end result, okay? You're pushing landlords, property owners into bankruptcy by creating these ridiculous rules where we can't get rid of non-paying tenants and get tenants into our properties who are paying. Diane Rohrig has been there. She says the process is as emotional as it is legal. I needed to get really honest about what was important and what wasn't. And having a good roof over your head is the most important thing you can do, says Roehrig. She says she had no idea about the process until she had to go through it herself. A Chapter 13 reorganization bankruptcy, which is available to individuals, is a great way to catch up on rent or mortgage payments that you may have come behind on during the pandemic, Boat says. Yeah, whew. Man, I don't even like talking about bankruptcy, you know? Like, my older brother, he actually has been through 2 separate bankruptcies, right? And to this day, even though the last one was quite a long time ago, to this day, he still can't get a mortgage to buy a house, you know? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know, I don't ever want to have to go through that. And, you know, that can be just devastating. And, you know, what are you supposed to do, though, if you're going to lose your personal residence because your renters weren't paying? You know, that I'd rather go through bankruptcy than lose, you know, your personal home. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a last resort sort of thing we're talking about here. He says it's important to be proactive because in Alabama, the eviction and foreclosure processes are quick after a publication in the paper. An attorney holds a quick sale on the courthouse steps and you no longer own your home, he says. If you're in a bind, Roehrig offers this to you. You have to ask the questions, and it helps to have a second pair of ears whenever you talk to your attorney, whenever you talk to the court, whenever you talk to anyone, she says. Chapter 7 bankruptcy cases do not have a plan of repayment. They involve selling assets to pay holders of claims. Chapter 13 bankruptcy typically helps eliminate debt over a 3 to 5 year period. Well, all I can say is let's not let it get that far, okay? Hopefully those landlords who are in, you know, dire straits are able to survive, but you know, I know that somewhere across the country, you know, there's tens of thousands of landlords out there who are struggling right now, and this could very well be one of the only solutions that you have to get out of this problem. So yeah, you know, bankruptcy isn't something that I would suggest in the normal times, but you know, these aren't normal times anymore. We're in the kind of situations now where basically the government has come and taken our ability to make money away from us, and this is the end result.